Family gatherings in our house always followed a quiet script. Food first. Stories about the past. Comparisons disguised as compliments. My older brother would be praised for his confidence, my sister for her social circle. Someone would eventually bring up their children, their promotions, their homes. The room filled easily with things that sounded like success. I had never quite fit into those stories. Not because I wasn't doing well. I was. I just wasn't the kind of success that looked impressive around a dining table. My work was steady, quiet, predictable, and for years, whenever someone in the family ran into a problem that required money, my phone would ring. It was never announced during gatherings. Those things happened privately, late-night calls, quick transfers, short messages that said, "I'll pay you back soon." Sometimes they did, often they didn't. I never chased it. I never mentioned it. Somewhere along the way, that became my place in the family. The dependable one, the quiet solution. Not the one people bragged about. That afternoon, the house was full. My aunt had come from another city, cousins were visiting, and the living room had the usual mix of plastic chairs pulled from every room. I sat near the end of the sofa while conversations drifted around me. My mother was in one of her storytelling moods, the kind where she revisited childhood memories for the entertainment of relatives. Everyone laughed at the right moments. Then she said it, casually, like she had said similar things 100 times before. "Out of all my children," she said with a small laugh, "he's the most useless one we have." The room reacted exactly how rooms usually react to jokes that land a little too sharply. Some people laughed. Others smiled politely. A few avoided looking at me. No one meant harm. That's what people always say afterward. It's just family humor, just teasing. But something about the way the sentence settled in the room felt different this time. I didn't respond immediately. Instead, my mind wandered through small memories. The evening my brother called because his car loan payment was overdue. The hospital deposit my aunt needed last year. The school fee emergency for my cousin's daughter. The roof repair for this very house after the last monsoon. Each memory was quiet, transactional, almost administrative. No drama, no recognition, just something that needed to be handled, and somehow it had always ended up with me. For a long time I believed that if I stayed useful long enough, appreciation would eventually follow. But appreciation had slowly turned into expectation, and expectation had turned into invisibility. Across the room my mother was still smiling, enjoying the laughter she had created. I realized something in that moment. No one in the room knew the full shape of the system we had quietly built. They only knew the joke. So I stood up, not abruptly, just enough to interrupt the rhythm of the conversation. The laughter faded quickly when people noticed. I looked at my mother first, then at the rest of the room. My voice came out calm, almost conversational. "Then maybe," I said, "you should stop calling me whenever someone in the family needs money." The words weren't loud, but the air changed instantly. It was the kind of silence that doesn't just fill a room, it freezes it. Someone shifted in their chair. A cousin lowered his gaze to the floor. My mother's expression didn't collapse dramatically. It just loosened, like a mask that suddenly didn't fit as well anymore. For a few seconds nobody spoke, because arguing would mean denying something everyone already knew was true. I didn't add anything else. There was nothing else to explain. I sat back down. The room stayed still. Then my uncle, the oldest person in the room, a man who rarely spoke during these gatherings, cleared his throat. He looked at my mother first, then at me. His voice was slow and careful. "That boy," he said, nodding toward me, "has helped more people in this family than anyone here knows." No one interrupted him. He just never talks about it. The statement wasn't dramatic, but it landed with the kind of weight only quiet truths carry. For the first time in years, people in the room are looking at me differently. Not with admiration, not even with apology, just awareness. And strangely, that was enough. No one tried to joke their way out of it. No one argued. The gathering continued eventually, but the energy had shifted. Conversations became smaller, slower. A few relatives spoke to me more carefully than before. My mother stayed quiet for most of the evening. Later, as people were leaving, my younger cousin stopped beside me near the door. "I didn't know," he said softly. I shrugged. "It's not something I usually bring up." He nodded and left. And for the first time after a family gathering, no one pulled me aside. No whispered request, no quiet favor, just handshakes, goodbyes. The ordinary end of a long day. When I stepped outside, the evening air felt strangely calm. I hadn't insulted anyone. I hadn't demanded respect. All I had done was remove the role everyone had quietly assigned to me. The future with my family was still uncertain. Maybe things would change. Maybe they wouldn't. But one thing was clear: the invisible provider they used to rely on without question was no longer part of the room.